So here we are. We're in New Hampshire, and there's a little buck having a good time. Hello, buck. Yeah. He loves it up here. Yes, you do. Yes, you go get the ball. Go get your ball. Yeah. This is the end of the road. Some of you have seen it before, and one of our neighbors. And here's the house. As I said the other day, we were getting it painted. And I don't remember what it looked like before, but it was sort of a gray stain for many, many years. 40 years I've had this house. And we changed the color. We went to a very nice green. The railings aren't done yet because it's pressure treated and they have to wait a year to stain them so the stain sticks properly. But the deck itself was all done with these synthetic boards, which are amazing. And yeah, so I'm really happy with how the place came out. They were here for about a week. Well, they were here for 2 weeks rebuilding the entire deck. Reframed it. It's the same footprint. They just redid everything because it was 25, 30 years old. And they did the garden shed where we keep ski gear and all that stuff. Did the lattice. And this is the house. So overall, we're very pleased with it. They did a great job. There we go. There's a better view. And so that'll be it for the next probably 30 years. This roof has a huge overhang, so very little weather hits it. Hits the house itself. And we have a couple of trees we need to remove because they're chipping. There's a couple in the middle that are tipping. Look like they're going to hit the house if they come down, so we're going to get rid of those. And that's it. That's it. And the furniture hasn't all been put back yet. Just a couple of chairs for now and so forth. So here we are. That's it. That's the house. Well, here we are. We're in New Hampshire. It is the, what's the date? The 28th of August, and this is the weekly video. We do these every Friday. We take a look at the auction market and see what's been going on there. And as you all know, as I've been saying for weeks, it's very quiet in the summer. There's not a lot going on. And now it's suddenly come back. There's a lot going on. And we're going to go through some of the sales that popped up this week. There's more. There actually are a few too many to fit into this particular video, so I'm going to have to do another one probably the beginning of next week when I get home. And as you saw, we got the house done, and it looks great, and we're very pleased with that. And so let's get on to it, okay? And we're going to start with a couple of results that came in last week from a few things that we discussed previously to see how they did. And we'll start with this, the fomr rose bowl, 18th century bowl, and it had a hairline in it. It was estimated at $600 to $900, and this was at Alex Cooper. And it ended up doing quite well. We thought it might. I think we said $1,500 to $2,000. It went for $2,000, and plus the buyer's premium, of course. So it ended up at around $2,600 for the bowl. But it was a very, very pretty bowl. It was a fairly large bowl. It was about 15 3/4 inches. So there you go. So pretty things still sell for very good prices these days. And then what else came along? This was sort of a bargain of the week. I always wonder, and I said I didn't know why they lauded this way. This was at Leonard's. These are 7 18th century fomr rose export garniture vases. Normally they split them up and sell them in pairs. So they had 3 pairs here and a single, and the whole lot. This was a good dealer lot. This was a great lot for dealers. I think the biggest one was around 11 inches tall, as I recall, 11 and a half inches tall for the biggest one, which would have been these probably, and the rest were probably in the 8 to 9 inch range. But the whole lot went for basically $750 plus premium, or about $900, or $125, $150 a piece. Which, if you think about it, you had 3 pairs in here, and each one of those pairs, I think if they were sold separately, probably would have brought $400 to $500. And this is the problem. But of course, if you're a dealer, it was a great buy because you go in, you buy them all, split them up, take them to shows and sell them off that way, because not everybody wants 7 of these. That's the issue. And sometimes I think it's just laziness on the part of the auctioneer. They don't want to have too many lots, and they do it this way. But so it works out great if you're a dealer, and not so great if you're a consignor, to be perfectly honest. And then hopping over to this was that big Buddhist painting we talked about last week. It was 6 feet tall. This was at Austin Auction Galleries. I love this painting. I thought it was pretty terrific, and apparently so did a lot of people. It had a fairly modest estimate of a couple of $1,000s, and it ended up going for $14,000 plus the premium. But it was beautifully painted. It's a nice early picture. It appeared to be 18th century or earlier. It's hard to tell without seeing it in person because this is under glass and it throws the light off a little bit. But it was a very attractive painting. Beautiful example, nicely framed too on top of it. Oh, it was only estimated at $500 to $700. That's kind of shocking. At any rate, we knew it would do better than that. So, and it did, obviously. So that's good news for the consignor. It came from a prominent, what do they call it? A prominent Texas interior designer, whoever that is. They didn't say. All right. And then there are a few other sales that came up that have come up that are coming along that have interesting things on them. One of them is this. This is a Chinese, quote, carving of in jade finial. This is a Ming jade of a seated figure. The lamp height is 21 inches tall to the finial. I assume this is probably, you could call him and ask him how big it is. It's probably 5 or 6 inches in height. This is a nice early ivory carving. It's a beautiful example. It looks to be in quite good shape. It doesn't appear, I don't think that they didn't drill it. No, they didn't. They just mounted it on a stand. This is a very nice carving. If you like early carvings with good color and nice detail and in good condition, you might want to look at this. And it also has a rather nice jade finial on the top of it. So I figure that the two of them together make a pretty good package. Keep it as a lamp if you want. It would look wonderful as a table lamp. And it's got a nice old base on it from the 1920s or 30s, from what I can see. It's estimated at $500 to $1,000. It's already got 4 bids on it. It's got 28 people watching it. I expect it'll bring 2 or 3,000 anyway, but it's a nice thing. It's a legitimate thing. So if you like legitimate things, you might want to look at this. This is on September 13th at Butterscotch Auctions. They've got a few things on the sale. You might want to go look at them. I think we covered some of it last week, but Butterscotch sale on Live Auctioneers on September 3rd. If it looks like an interesting sale to you, go check it out. All right. And then this is coming up. Now, this isn't a strange sale. This is at Concept Art Gallery, and the auction is a lot of gold coins and that sort of thing, collectible coins, and a whole bunch of books, but not many books on Chinese art. And in the middle of this auction, I found these. The set on the left, of course, is the famous set that was done by David Howard and John Ayres of the Okata Collection, China for the West. Came out back in the 80s or the early 90s, somewhere in there. It's an old book, but it's a very good book and well illustrated. And as you know, the Motohedas, the couple, they started a factory and began making very fine reproductions of China trade porcelain, much of it based on their own collection. And they had a massive collection, the Motohedas. It was quite an amazing thing. And they wrote this great 2-volume set books on it. But the books on the right also, the Minneapolis Institute of Art's Imperial Silks. These are big books. Both of these books are big. These are like coffee table books. But this pair of books here, I've had this set, I think, since about the time it came out 20-odd years ago, I guess, at this point. There's the Ayres book. But this is a really great, this is all based, from what I remember, on one collection being given to the Minneapolis Institute back, I guess, back in the 50s maybe, and they decided to do a book on it, and it's very in-depth. It's got loads of illustrations. It goes through all of the different types of robes and court robes and unofficial robes and all these silk accoutrements that went with them, the collars, the whole bit. This is a wonderful, wonderful pair of books. If you're interested in Chinese silks and you don't have this book, buy it. Now, the estimate for the two books of the two sets is extremely reasonable, $200 to $300. And right now, I'm the only person watching them because the books are sort of in an odd place, so they may go very reasonably. The starting price is just $100. The set should the China for the West should bring $300 or $400, and the Imperial Silk book should bring $200 to $300 or maybe more. I think that the Imperial Silk books is the best of the two. As much as I like Howard's and Ayers' writing, the one on the right is a very comprehensive collection, and you don't get a lot of those in books. You get books on silks that are maybe a couple of hundred pages, and they have a few robes here and there, and they don't have a lot of detail. This has dozens and dozens and dozens of full-color images of robes. There's some black and white pictures, too, from what I remember, but I've got the set at home, and I've sort of dog-eared the thing over the years. It's a great pair of books. Great, two very good sets, and regardless. And then this is coming up on September 16th at William Smith's in New Hampshire. All right. This is a 21-inch 18th century charger. This is a massive piece of porcelain. According to the description, I'm almost tempted to call him and say, are you sure this is 21 and 3/4 inches in diameter? That is a very, very big piece of 18th century porcelain. It's like a trash can cover. It's huge. The estimate is only $400 to $600. The estimate bewilders me, to be honest. It should bring, at a minimum, $1,500 to $2,000, at the bare minimum. It should bring, because of the enormous size of it, it should bring 3 to 5. Right now, there's only 5 people watching it. The sale is in about 2.5 weeks from now. If you like unusual, and it's beautifully painted on top of it. I love the way the willow trees are done and the way they frame the two figures on the ground. The little boy carrying the fish up from the pond, and his mother, I'm presuming, here walking along with a basket and some flowers and so forth. It's a very, very charming scene. A couple of birds, fairly typical border, but the scene in the middle is quite charming, and it looks absolutely fine to me. I don't have any questions. I can't think of anything to question about its age or authenticity or anything. Looks absolutely fine from what I'm seeing. Looks good. Do check it out. And it's already got a plate rack on it, so it was obviously mounted in somebody's house. But the estimate is silly. You can ignore the estimate. The estimate is ridiculously low. And then this popped up. This is if you like Japanese Buddhist shrines and so forth, check this out. This is coming up at Eddie's on September 6th, in about 8 days from now. And this is an extremely rare piece of Japanese art, 18th century. It's a Butsudan home shrine. Basically, it is 5.5 feet tall. These are extremely rare in this size. This is a really rare bird in New York. Go through some of the pictures of this thing and check it out. It looks to be in outstanding condition. The carving and the gilding and the lacquer work on the dragon, on the base, and on the Buddha figure is all outstanding. There's some very good natural sort of atmospheric wear that you get, some patina on it. The patina on this thing is wonderful. The doors have gilt lacquer on the interiors. The exterior is lacquered as well. But it's very very large in height, and it's very narrow. It's a neat design. It's a great design, and it's got all the drawers on it too. I don't know if you're familiar with these, but the big ones of these cabinets, they fit with drawers, so you can put prayer books in them and incense and oils and that sort of thing for religious purposes. But this was the real deal. And these were a big status thing in Japan during the 18th century. If you had one of these, you were a pretty big deal. This was not the common, most of the shrines you see that were intended for Japanese homes are, 8 to 12 inches tall. They were fairly small, and they went in the room, and they were partly to display that you were, devoted to Buddha and all that you weren't practicing Christianity secretly or any of that business. This was meant for somebody that really wanted to make a statement. And I love the dragon on the bottom. The dragon on the bottom just knocks me out. I think look at the face. Look at the face on him. He's wonderful. And beautiful, beautiful base. And as I said, I think they have photographs of, there's the Buddha in wonderful condition. The pigments are still on it. The shroud is in beautiful shape. I don't see any breaks to it. Here's the front of it, nicely fitted with all the work with this giant lotus flower in the middle. It's a great thing. It's a very good thing. And there it is. That's a side view of it. So you can see it's very tall and thin. It's 60. How tall is this thing? 66 and 3/4 inches tall and 13 and 3/4 inches wide and 10 inches deep. So it'll fit. It would be a great thing to fit into a house. At any rate, it's only estimated at $3,000 to $4,000. It's got a $1,500 opening bid. It's terrific. So if you want something great that's Japanese, look at this. We're going to see a lot of good Japanese things too coming up in Hong Kong at the Okata auction that Sotheby's is doing. We'll get to that in a little bit. Then this is also in the Eddie sale. If you're a Japanese Arita buyer, these are two very nice plates. They're mixed in with these sort of 1930s Chinese restaurant soup spoons for some reason, and a couple of, very common 18th century China trade bowls. But these plates are quite attractive, and they're about 7 or 8 inches in diameter, as I recall. 8.5 inches in diameter, but beautifully done, probably Meiji period. Estimate $200 to $350 opening bid. That's sort of a no-brainer if you're an Amari buyer. All right. And then this, just as a reminder, we talked about this charger a few weeks ago when this sale first appeared. This is coming up at Thomaston Place up in Maine on the 29th. This is coming up tomorrow. This is that great big Longquan Celadon charger that is, I'm going to get the dimensions, 15.5 inches. This is a very nice piece of Longquan ware, and it looks to be in very nice condition. Just as a reminder, if you're planning on bidding on it, you might want to get it on your menu, your dance guide for tomorrow. The estimate is only $800 to $1,200. It's going to blow through that. Don't be surprised if it brings $4,000 to $6,000, maybe more. It could bring more than that. But it's a lovely example. Good color. The color of it's excellent. So just go back to that if you've bookmarked it and slipped your mind. It's tomorrow. It's tomorrow. All right, and then over to this. This is the sale that's coming up in at Sotheby's on the 4th, and this is in Hong Kong. This isn't the New York sale. We're going to do the New York sale in another video. But this is the Okata Museum Collection, Part 2. As you know, Mr. Okata got himself in a legal jam a few years ago, and part of the settlement is he has to liquidate part of his museum. And they did the first part last year. Remember, we talked about it quite a bit, and it's a shame to see this happening because they sold some fantastic things last year. The sale brought in about $88 million was the total, including premium, I believe. And now they're having to do another one because I guess they didn't get quite enough money out of the last one. Either that or he's maybe exiting the museum altogether. I don't know. I don't know what he's doing. But this is what happens when these business guys screw up. You end up losing museums. But he had great things, I have to say, some really fantastic things, and a lot of good Japanese things. So we're going to see some Japanese screens in here. The sale is loaded with all kinds of good things, Japanese and Chinese. It's a mix, but all very high-end, all the best of the best of the very, very, very best. There's some great Kutani ware in here, Nabeshima ware. There's a lot of good Sung pieces. There's some good, very, very good lacquer. There are screens from the Momoyemo period right through into the Edo, Wan Li, Marken period pieces, and so forth. We're going to take a look at a few of them just to give you an idea. The first one is this. This just killed me. I love this. It's an enameled ware. He's an Edo period, made around 1650, enameled bottle. This is an absolutely great thing. It's around about 15 inches tall. This is a pretty big bottle. Beautifully done, beautiful colors, and as you know, they didn't begin making porcelain in China until around 1600, 1610. So this is a very early production piece, and it measures 38 centimeters, so it's about 16 inches in height. It's estimated at 60 to 80,000 Hong Kong, which is 8 to 10,000 in U.S. currency, and I don't think that's unreasonable. I think this is an amazing piece of porcelain. I think they priced it to sell. And then there's this really nice Ming Dynasty, Zhengde period, green enamel dragon bowl. We've seen these before. This is a very, very fine one. It's particularly fine. If we get the pictures to load, we'll be in good shape. Oh, there it is. Slid down. This is a wonderful example. Very nice deep color on the body of the dragon, and then very light wisps of clouds and mist coming off of the dragon as he moves along. And you'll notice the very stylized claws, looking almost like pinwheels. And that's you see that often, or you see that more often on Ming dragons than you do on Qing dragons, it seems. But this is a very handsome bowl. It's estimated at 400 to 800,000 Hong Kong, which works out to about $50 to $100,000, I guess is how they're sort of estimating it, which I think is reasonable for that. And it has its double box and all that. There's the box and so forth. And then over to this, a great piece of Nabeshima ware. They have numerous pieces of Nabeshima in this sale, especially early pieces. This is a 17th century example. It's estimated at 100 to 150,000 Hong Kong, or what does that work out to? 13 to whatever, $13 to $18,000 or something. But it's a beautiful piece of Nabeshima. If you're an Nabeshima buyer, you want to go look at it. Even if you're not going to bid on it, go look at it. These are great examples. And I always say, if you see some really great examples or things from a collection, we have numerous examples, take a copy of the images. Take advantage of them being here, because they're handy to have as references. You can build your own reference library, put them into PDF files and do stuff with them. Here's the back of it. Very classic Nabeshima back. Very, very finely done. As I said, the sale's on September 4th. Don't miss out on this. Then there's this very large Zhaijing to Wan Li period double gourd vase with the longevity scenes all over it. Very nice soft blues. The precision of the drawing on this makes me think it's probably more likely Zhaijing period. But it could be early Wan Li, because they did some good things in the early Wan Li period too. It is not marked, but it's very big. This thing measures, I'm going to get the height right on this, 66 centimeters. So it's about 26 inches tall, roughly. It's a very big piece of porcelain, estimated at and I think the estimate here is very reasonable, 200 to 400,000 Hong Kong, which is what's that work out to, about $25 to $50,000, somewhere around there. I don't think that's a lot of money for a piece that big and of that quality and that provenance. You know, it's always good to have things that come from museums in your collection. It's good provenance. And then over to this, maybe this is when we talk about Qing baiwares from the Northern Sung, one of the things they always pay a lot of attention to is the color of the porcelain itself. And this blue tinge that they started doing on these, because most Qing baiwares that you see are fairly white, very light in color. But the very, very finest pieces, they did add a tiny bit of cobalt. They were just getting used to working with cobalt, and they'd put a little bit of cobalt in the glaze to give it this very fine, extremely soft blue tinge to it. But notice how finely edged the lotus bowl is. And these are for keeping wine warm. If you're a Patreon subscriber, I should mention there's a film that's going up tomorrow, a video on there. It's a lecture by Rose Kerr, and she actually talks about these quite a bit in that video. So if you're subscribed to us on Patreon, it'll be loading. I think it launches tomorrow morning at around 9 o'clock. So check that out. But they use these to warm wine, because they like to drink their wine, in tea, obviously warm, but the liquor warm. And they would warm it, and then they would put hot water in this outer liner, and then put the pot in it just to keep it at a nice temperature for drinking. But this is an extraordinarily fine example. It's complete. It's got its lid. They never have their lids. The cup is original, as I said in previous videos. Sometimes you see these, and the cup doesn't look quite right proportionally to the ewer, because one would get broken and people would end up with a ewer, and then they'd end up with a cup from somewhere else, and they'd sort of mix and match them sometimes, and they never look quite right. This one looks absolutely right, obviously. And the estimate on it is 500 to 1 million Hong Kong, 500,000 to 1 million Hong Kong. So that works out to about, what, 65 to 110,000, $120,000, which I don't think is a crazy price for that. This is an extraordinarily fine piece. Let's see, who did he get it from? He got it from the Ugami Sokyu Do Company, Tokyo, one of the best dealers in the world. Not a surprise. Some of the best collections in the world bought all at dealers. They rarely, a lot of them never go to auctions hardly. They'll look at auctions and they occasionally will buy something, but they like to focus on dealers because if you work with dealers, you get a choice of better things much of the time because the dealer will get it first and you can dig it out of somewhere, and then you end up buying the cream of the crop from them. And then later in auction, if it gets sold, they always do very well. But don't be afraid to go to great dealers around the world to buy things because you're going to get things in your collection that you're not going to get very often at auction houses. And they'll find things for you that you want. Anyway, there's this nice pair of Wutsai dragon jars, Marken period, Zhaijing period. These are 20 centimeters tall, 8 inches in height. They're very, very pretty, though. Beautiful color, and they're mirrored pairs. And you don't see pairs in Ming ceramics very often. Pairs are sort of a rarity because they just didn't make them. You saw a lot of pairs in the Qing dynasty, but in the Ming dynasty, pairs don't turn up very often. So when you have a chance to buy them, you're going to pay a premium for them, but they're worth it. This one is these two are worth estimated at 300 to 600,000 Hong Kong, or around what's that work out to about 850. I go brain foggy here trying to translate the prices. 80,000 somewhere around there on the high estimate, right? 40 to 80,000 roughly. 40 to $80,000. I think they're terrific, and they're Marken period, and it's a pair. Remember, pairs are rare. And then there's this very classic Wanli Marken period dragon bolt basin. This one is fairly large, 35 centimeters, so it's around 14 inches in diameter. And of course, you've seen these before. If you have any books from the British Museum or any of that, they have one of these. There's a couple of these floating around in major museums. They are exceedingly rare and hard to come by. And this one's a nice one. It's very crisp. The dragon is done in a very nice pure blue. The red enamels are good. I don't see a lot of rubbing to the red enamels, which you often see on these pieces from the Wanli era. Very, very nice. And then the mark, of course, will be on the back. Right there. There's the back. There's the side of it. So it's a pretty good sized bone. It's got some depth to it. But notice the condition of the enamels. They all are excellent. The estimate is 1 to 2 million Hong Kong. Which is, 120 to $240,000 in the U.S. currency. But this is an extremely rare bird. It's one of those holy grails that Ming collectors go after all the time. And then there's this really, really nice Yongchen period pair of yellow and green enamel bowls with the boys on them. Again, very fine quality, beautiful color, nice pure yellow. It isn't that hot lemon yellow that you saw in the late 19th century. It's a very even, very, very sort of a comfortable color. And the color values are, of course, perfect between the yellow and the green. They balance perfectly. And the bowls are estimated, again, at 1 to 2 million Hong Kong. All right, or 120, 130 to 230,000. And then there's this Siju Sgraffiato peony bowls. These are pretty rare birds. They don't turn up very often. This one is a little over 8 inches in height, which is sort of the regular size for them. We can get it to come up. There we go. And what is this on the shoulder here? Is that shaped that way, or is it a sag in the body? Let me see here. Striking jar impresses bold, vigorous form, scrollers endowed with an added sense of dimensionality. Deep carving, intricate. Decorated vase when recovered from the sites. Jar decorated with similar peony motifs, more commonly known in larger sizes. You gotta ask him about this if you decide you want to find out about that. With this area here, or is it something optically odd in the photo? I'm not sure. But at any rate, it's estimated at 600 to 800, 600 to 1.2 million Hong Kong. And then over to this, Long Quan Celadon. There's a lot of lots in the sale. There's several hundred lots in the sale. I think 230, I think, pieces in this sale. You have this very nice Ming Dynasty Long Quan Celadon vase. Insights decoration with lotus flowers here, and then the acanthus leaves or the lotus leaves down at the bottom. Nice handles. And people always describe these as being sung. This one is a Ming example, probably pretty early Ming. Not a lot of, there's some, well, they cite some other examples that are known, estimated at 500,000 to 1 million Hong Kong. 65,000 to 130,000 for it, but very, very attractive. And then there's this. This is my favorite screen in the sale, so I decided to show it. It's a Momoyama period, it's the early Edo. It was done right on the end. The Momoyama period ends around 1603, 1604, and then it becomes the Edo. And this was done somewhere toward the very end of the Momoyama period, the very, very beginning of the Edo. So they sort of straddled it. When it was exhibited some years ago, this was exhibited as Momoyama period. They have the name of the family that did it, the workshop that worked on it, and so forth. It was in the Hasegawa school, and I believe they attributed this to the son. And what's so interesting about this is a scene from the Tale of Genji. And here you have the two lovers, the two main characters, and the boatman in white here, and beautifully done. And they attribute it to this particular family artist because the way the waves are done, and the way the boat's done, and the angle of the boat, and the colors, and so forth. It's just a splendid screen. This is a pretty big screen too. It's not a little thing. It's 169 centimeters by 370 centimeters in length. So it's fairly large, 169 centimeters tall, which is around 6.5 feet or so. So it's a fairly large screen. The estimate is 150 to 250,000 Hong Kong, or around what's it work out to, about 18 or so, 20,000 to $40,000. But it's a beautiful screen. If you're looking for the best of the best in the screen world, I think that might be one of them. And then there's this also, a Yuzhou period, 5 dynasties to Northern Sung ewer, deeply carved, beautiful color, very, very finely worked all the way around. Looks to be in wonderful condition. Of course, even at Sotheby's, you've got to get condition reports, find out if it's ever had anything done to it. It's in absolutely astonishing condition, and it is magnificently carved for this type of pot. And it's estimated, I think, pretty modestly at 300,000 to 600,000 Hong Kong. I know it's a lot of money, but it doesn't seem it for this. This is such a great example. It's probably, about 8 inches tall or something? 19.5 centimeters, so just a hair under 8 inches, 7 7/8 inches tall. It's right up there. 300,000 to 600,000, or roughly 40 to $60,000, which I think is very reasonable for that. So that is just some of that Sotheby sale. Really go through it. It's a wonderful looking sale. They've got all kinds of things in here. A mix of Japanese and Chinese. I didn't see any Korean items, but awfully good looking stuff from both countries. And then over to this is coming up at Freeman's. Freeman's has got this very good, the Thomas Klein estate collection of snuff bottles. He was a physician who passed away last year in November. And he was an avid snuff bottle collector. He was very well known, but in all the snuff collecting societies and groups and all that, he'd been doing it for a very, very long time. He had impeccable taste. He got great things, and this part of his collection has gone off to Freeman's, and there's some great examples in here. I want to go through. If you're a snuff bottle buyer, you have to check this sale out. This is a good collection. This is a really good collection. All right, I'm very happy Freeman's got it too, because they did a good job photographing it, and I wanted to do well. And you have things like this beautiful Chinese shadow agate snuff bottle. They dated this as Qing Dynasty, 1790 to 1890. The carving quality on this is really good. And this is where they utilize the presence of an inclusion in the stone and carve around it to give it a relief image. This isn't painted onto it. This is carved out of the stone. So there was a brown area of the stone. There's an umber or amber color area of the stone. And the best carvers could work those areas in to give it a relief, to get a picture out of it. And that's what he did here. Very, very fascinating work. Estimated at $1,500 to $2,000, $750 opening bid. It's a beautiful snuff bottle. And all of them are. I'm not even going to go through them all. There's a lot. Every snuff bottle I saw in this collection, if you're a snuff bottle collector, you can bid on them worry-free. These are all great bottles. Then you have this very fine white jade snuff bottle, probably done at the beginning of the 19th century, early 1800s. Very, very fine quality stone, beautiful nephrite, nice and white, and beautifully polished shoulders. They balance nicely. Sometimes you look at the shoulders and they screw them up a little bit. This one is balanced perfectly on both sides. The base is nicely done. The finish is good. The polish on them looks excellent all the way around, and it's got this rather nice stopper. I never care too much about the stoppers unless it's a great piece of jade or something special. But anyway, this one is estimated $2,000 to $3,000 with a $1,000 opening bid, but it is a spectacular piece of jade and very, very finely done. And then this deep relief carved Chinese jade with inclusions. All right, and they pulled the inclusions out just like they did with the agate bottle. And here they did it on a piece of jade with these figures and clouds and so forth, with a Shaolu figure in the middle, a couple of attendants on the side standing on a platform. This is a very rare one. It's very deeply carved, and I suspect that's because this brown area ran fairly deep into the stone, so the carver has to keep carving into it till you get to some white stone to give him the contrast of the relief. And you can see here, this is very deeply carved, extremely deep work. And there's the back of it. Nicely carved, but very good. This is a greenish-white jade, so it has a very, very good color. And you've got more figures on the back and clouds and whatnot. Estimated at $2,000 to $3,000 with a $1,000 opening bid, but a very rare example. And then you have this. There's a bunch of Imperial bottles in this sale. There was an Imperial atelier created during the Qianlong area at the palace, and they made snuff bottles as gifts. It's been very busy around here. Apparently, we're being swarmed by crows right now. We had thunder and a little rain about an hour ago, so it was there's a lot of stuff going on up here. Oh, by the way, Buck wandered into the back end of a porcupine while we were here. He was fine. It was just two little needles got in his nose and pulled him out. He was okay, but he's now learned you don't chase porcupines around the woods. So anyway, beautiful piece of yellow snuff. Again, that very nice yellow color, that very beautiful, even yellow. And in the Imperial workshops, they did this kind of glasswork. They did great glasswork and carving, so forth. And then this is a 5-color overlay bottle. Very rare to see this many colors in one bottle. You see, red and blue, or you'll see white, red, and blue sometimes. But this is 5 colors. 5 colors of overlay. Hey, Buck. Heard me talking about them. Nicely done, beautifully polished, very unusual, extremely unusual, and very deeply worked. Again, and that's a premium bottle when you see that sort of depth of carving. It's really, really quite something. Again, they date it as being from 1736 to 1795. So they're dating it as just a Qianlong bottle. Basically, $3,000 to $5,000 estimate because they are rare. $1,500 opening bid, but very, very fine bottles. And then this is an amber bottle. I love this. I love the color of this. It's a very warm, rich brown color, beautifully carved, nicely done, beautifully polished. All the way around. Here's the back of it. Goes slightly lighter on the back, which I think gives it a lot of depth. And I love the carving on the sides here. It's spectacularly well carved. Very lovely. $1,500 to $2,000 is the estimate. They date it to the late 18th century, late Qianlong period. Maybe the first couple of years of Zhaijing, but probably just say it's 1790s is good enough. Nice bottle. And then this, we'll end with the snuff bottles on this, the horses. Everybody knows I love Chinese paintings of horses, and this is a very nice one. It's Daoguan, Marken period, with the 8-horse pattern on it. This is a very, very famous scene. And there's the mark on the bottom, and they have no problem with the date. Apparently, it's been checked out over and over and over. I'm sure it's been exhibited. It's estimated at $1,500 to $2,000 with a $750 opening bid, but a beautiful, beautiful piece of famille rose work, and you don't see these very often with this pattern. That's what makes it really quite unusual. But the estimates, I think, are extremely fair on this sale, so don't worry about it too much. And then coming over to here, this is the Bonhams sale. Bonhams has a nice sale coming up too in New York on September 14th. At 9 o'clock in the morning, and they have some very good things in this sale. They have some very good furniture. It seems they got into somebody that was a big Zitan furniture or Zitan collector, because there's a number of fine Zitan pieces in this sale, 18th century in particular. Brush pots, tables. We'll take a quick look at some of them. Here's one of them, the Zitan rectangular, what they call a longevity chest. Very nice quality. The hardware looks like it might be Pak Tong. You'd have to call and ask them about that. But the wood, they've checked it out, of course, and it's Zitan wood with these archaistic carvings all over it. Very nicely done. Estimated at $20,000 to $30,000 US, because the sale is in New York, of course. And then there's this trunk form Zitan brush pot, and it's a little hard to see because they shot it against white, so the camera had a little trouble with it. Sometimes they're better off shooting this on gray paper, so they can adjust the light more effectively, because you can't really see the color of the wood very well, I'm afraid. But it's a nice looking pot. It looks like it might have a split at the bottom. You want to check on that with them and see if it goes through or what the deal is. It's an 18th century pot, $5,000 to $7,000. And then there's this, a very lovely Zitan Guangzhou table. This is a nice table. It's a beautiful looking table. Love the scrolls on it, going all the way around. Beautifully finished on the ends. This appears to be probably an 18th century. Yeah, it's 18th century. 130 to 150,000 US. But, you know, Zitan tables, as you all know, if you've been buying Chinese furniture for any length of time, you know, they are highly desirable and very expensive to buy, because it's a rare wood. And then there's this very nice Hongmu altar table. And this one is very nice reticulated corners to it. It's probably done during the end of the Zhaijing to the Daoguan period, but beautifully carved. And it's Hongmu, and it looks like when they did it, they might have darkened, and lacquered it a little bit, or done, not lacquered, but applied some paint to it, because it's almost as dark as Zitan. I'm going to bet this came from the same collection. Maybe not. Who knows? I shouldn't speculate. But beautifully carved table, wonderfully done. Probably first half of the 19th century, I think, estimated at $30,000 to $50,000. Spectacular. Property from a Massachusetts collection. That's all it says. And then over to this Celadon floral bowl. This is Qianlong period, I believe. Yeah. There you go. Marking period. There's the mark. Looks fine. How big is this thing? It is 10 3/8 inches in diameter. Nice piece of Celadon, though. Beautiful example. I love the wavy lines coming off of the center. It's like the sun in the middle with the wavy lines coming out of it. And a nice shape, nicely done shaped ring. Not a huge bulb, but a good one. $20,000 to $30,000 estimate. And then over to this goo form vase with it's enamel with puce, which is sort of a rare color combination on these pieces. They turn up from time to time, but extremely fine work on these is what you generally find. And there's the mark right here, and it is Qianlong marking period. Yeah, yep. Estimate 40,000 to 60,000. And it's funny because these things, I always, for a long time, I always wondered why these didn't bring more, because they're so big, they're so elegant, they're beautifully done, and for some reason they tend to have fairly, relatively speaking to other Qianlong pieces, very reasonable prices, despite the strength and the power of the decoration. It surprises me. This one is 11 1/4 inches in height. It's a beautiful piece of porcelain. And then over to this is something I wanted to mention, just because this comes up once in a while. And if you get to this pair of big yellow vases, you're going to see, I'm going to explain what this is. These are sort of interesting. They're being sold as Kangxi period vases, which means that's what the bodies are, with, quote, later decoration. And generally speaking, what that means is that you see this description, later decoration, on these yellow vases from time to time, and you see them on the femme noir vases from time to time, because these vases are big. They're 24 inches in height. And apparently what they discovered, much to their chagrin, several decades ago, that a lot of these big Kangxi vases that are either in yellow or in more commonly in black, were not made originally in black. They were made with white grounds or other colored grounds. And during the late 19th century and the early 20th century, when there was a lot of interest and demand in these, and the femme noir, as they were known, the black ground pieces were bringing a lot of money, the Chinese began taking Kangxi vases, believe it or not, and rubbing down and wearing off the white enamel in between the colored enamel decoration, and then redecorating them with different background colors, like yellow in this case, or black in the case of femme noir. And what they've discovered is that they basically didn't make these big vases really in black over around 18 or 19 inches in height. And I believe they're going to find the same as probably for these yellow ones. The yellow on these are very pretty. It does look like a late 19th century yellow. It's a little lemony. It's a little hot, a little bright, but works with these colors. The balance is very, very good. It's a pear. The foot rims on them are slightly different, you might notice, but they were done as a pair. I have no doubt about that. And they're estimated at just $10,000 to $15,000. But they're an interesting piece because they also tell you a bit about what was going on in the Asian art market back 100 to 120 years ago, when they were trying to get things out of China and into the West and finding things that would accommodate the demand in the market. And they went that far that they would actually remove enamels and redecorate the ground colors on porcelains to find a buyer. Very strange stuff. And then over to this. This is just a really nice Qianlong period 18th century jar. It's 24 inches high, so it's pretty big. It's estimated, I think it's estimated very modestly. Get a condition report. It estimated on this is just $4,000 to $6,000. It's beautifully decorated, wonderful Qianlong enamels. The colors look good. I don't see any damage to it anywhere, but if it's professionally restored, you're not going to see it in a photograph. There's the bottom of it, very classic, large. Very classic appearance for the bases of these large jars. They're often done this way with a slightly inward tapering foot and then that big broad expanse of unglazed porcelain underneath it. And this one, it seems like a very low estimate. You really want to check. If that's the estimate, it means there's really not much of a reserve on it. It may just be coming out of an estate and they need to settle the estate too, and they don't want to push too hard. They want it to go away. So anyway, $4,000 to $6,000. Get a condition report. But because I would think normally this thing would be estimated at 10 to 15,000, but you never know these days. You never know. And then there's some good robes in this sale too. Some nice robes. And this is a very nice Kang cushion cover, and it's about 40 inches long. It's a big one. And these turn up from time to time. You may recognize it if you're a silk buyer. But this one is good condition all the way around. And these would sort of be put in the central family entertaining areas of the house as sit on. But very fine quality all the way around, probably done around the middle, just a shade after the middle of the 19th century or so, maybe a little before. Hard to say. It's very hard to say. $4,000 to $6,000 estimate. Seems reasonable for a big piece like that. And it had a particular purpose, of course. So do check that out. Anyway, so that sort of covers it for the week. I don't want to be here bore you all evening long, but that's sort of how quickly and how much is poured back into the market in the last 2 weeks. And of course, we discussed some other 5 or 6 other sales last week, and there'll be 5 or 6 more sales this coming week. I will try to set aside some time and do a video on the Sotheby's New York sale and a couple of other sales that have turned up. And I'm sure there will be more. I believe Doyle's will be having a sale, of course, and Freeman's will be having a sale as well. And we'll get to those when they come. All right, so that's it from New Hampshire. This week, I'm heading home probably tomorrow. And see you all in the next video. And again, the Patreon folks, pay attention to your emails. You'll get a notice when that video comes up by Rose Kerr. She's such a great lecturer. She's a true educator. She's very good to listen to. And she covers ground beautifully. So pay close attention to that. All right, and that's it. All right, have a great rest of your your day and have a great weekend. And we'll see you all on the beginning of the week, hopefully. All right. Bye-bye.